Hello everyone, a friend of mine and I were talking about perfume parlour fragrances the other day, and he said, you know, I really like their fragrances, but I much prefer the roll-on oils. I find that the sprays are a bit hit and miss for me. I said, just try pointing the atomizer very carefully next time you spray, and you should miss less often. Hello everyone, welcome back and thanks for joining me again. So today I'm going to be having a look at a fragrance from Gallagher Fragrances, and this one is called Evergreen Dream. Why am I reviewing this fragrance? Well, they have sent this one to me, the full bottle, for free. They sent me a sample pack actually of almost all of their other fragrances a little while ago, and I really liked some of those, particularly Bergamust is a beauty. A lot of people have mentioned that on YouTube, and I really liked the one called, I think, Neroli spelt backwards, which was a very nice, again, a fresh citrusy neroli fragrance. Bergamust, again, a fresh one, lovely bergamot note in that one with a kind of ambroxan, maybe ISO-y, super dry down, but done with really, really high quality. And I did enjoy my sample of that one. Now, there's a reason why I think they've decided to send me a 100ml bottle of Evergreen Dream. It's because it is the company's take on a fougere, an aromatic fougere, and that's a style that I'm well known, if you watch a lot of my videos, for liking. I like some of these old-fashioned mossy green fragrances. I do like modern ones too. I like sweet fragrances, I like just citrus freshies, and plenty of sort of synthetic modern fragrances have been in my favourite list too. But I do have this penchant for old fragrances with a hint of the 70s or even the 19th century, because that's when Houbigont's Fougère Royale first came out. And so it was unsurprising perhaps that they decided a full bottle of this one would be worth sending me. And so let's get stuck into it. Presentation then, the bottle we can see is basic kind of design, but very nice and well done. It's got a quite thick bit of glass there at the bottom, so it doesn't feel cheap. And it's got the company logo on the front there. It came in a really nice box that I'll just show. It is a niche fragrance, so you're going to want it's quite nice presentation, hopefully. So you get a nice little box like that, and the fragrance sits really well inside there, kind of velvety stuff inside, and it sits really snugly. More importantly, though, how does this one smell? And can I get it out of the box? Yeah, okay, so Evergreen Dream from Gallagher Fragrances. The notes on this one. So the top notes on Evergreen Dream are Turkish galbanum with hints of lime zest and white grapefruit. In the mid we have birch tar, cashmeran, Russian lavender and pine resin. And in the base we have Texas cedarwood, coumarin, musk, oak moss and patchouli. It's an eau de parfum. The price is $135 for 100ml, or you can get a 2.5ml sample for $7.50. The company describes it as a new age fougere with a twist, and the perfumier is the man behind all the Gallagher fragrances, Daniel Gallagher. So those are a lot of very typical fougere notes. Fougere means fern-like. The fragrance is supposed to conjure up the feeling of the aroma of a fern. So they're going to be piney, foresty, coniferous smelling green fragrances usually, but there are all kinds of different variations you can have within that. Lavender is usually one of the notes you're going to find in there, as is oak moss and tonka bean. I think coumarin comes from the tonka bean, so kind of either the same thing or a version of a similar kind of smell. Let me know if you know the difference between coumarin and a tonka bean, but I know coumarin comes from the tonka bean. So there's a little bit of lavender in there. There's going to be some sweetness maybe from the tonka bean, but there's a whole ton of green notes, particularly the pine resin, the cashmeran and the galbanum. Galbanum is a kind of bitter green smell, and cashmeran is apparently a sort of wet woody smell. I've never smelt the thing on its own. It's a made up synthetic note, but it is used a lot in perfumes. So how does this one smell? I was wearing it as my fragrance of the day, so I will spray a quick fresh one. Let's do a quick fresh one on the wrist here, just to remind us of the opening. Okay, so it's got a really, really intriguing and nose-grabbing opening. I love the opening on this one. It's bitter, it's green, it smells rich, and it smells very forest-like. It really smells like you're in a forest. It reminds me a little bit, in the feeling that it gives me, of Polo Green from Ralph Lauren, although when you try them side by side they don't smell that similar, but it's that kind of feeling of a very green place that you're in when you spray this one. There is this citrus element in the fragrance because you've got lime and white grapefruit. And there is a little bit of that freshness, but mainly it's about piney greenness and an absolute ton of lavender. This fragrance is a real lavender bomb, so people who like lavender, like me, are going to probably gravitate towards it. But if you're put off by lavender, you may not like the opening in particular. Carlos, the Brooklyn fragrance lover, said in his review that the lavender calms down a bit and he preferred the dry down, and certainly it does change after a half an hour or so to be slightly less aggressive. The company themselves said it has a really grabbing you kind of opening, and then it gets a little more subtle as it dries down. Projection is not massive after a while, but longevity is really, really good. It lasts really long, but it's a medium projecting scent. It's not beast mode or really in your face. The overall smell on this fragrance can best be described as green, bitter, a little bit dank, somewhat coniferous, masculine, deep, woody, rich, and a little bit warming and even a little bit sweet. Because of perhaps the patchouli, I think there's an almost dark bitter chocolate note in here, which differentiates this from very, very old school smelling fougere. So I think the modern twist that they've claimed there is there to an extent. It reminds me a lot of niche fougere type fragrances that I've smelled, even a little bit of Amouage's Sunshine Man, because that's a very heavy lavender fragrance. And it's somehow, although it smells incredibly green and forest-like, it doesn't smell really, really old-fashioned. So the things that you may be reminded of if you smell this one, of course, Houbigant Fougère Royale is the starting point for a lot of fougère fragrances, and that's an absolute classic niche fragrance. And there's an element of that one. It's got the same kind of lavender mixed with greenness feel about both of them, and both of them are quite rich and even a little bit warming, so they're not sort of super fresh green spring-like versions of a fougere, but they have this kind of depth that makes them perhaps appropriate for autumn time, which we're in now, or fall. And I guess that's why he's called it Evergreen Dream. Evergreen trees and plants, of course, stay green in the winter, in the cold seasons, the fall and the winter, and this one seems like a green one you can wear in cold weather because it's got this depth and richness. So of course, similarly, we get that, don't we, in Polo Green by Ralph Lauren. I've got an older version here, and that has that really kind of piney, resinous feel. There's some different notes, they're not exactly the same, but conjures up a little bit of that kind of feeling. There is an old-fashionedness in that one that isn't quite so old-fashioned here. I think that patchouli, the way they've got this kind of almost chocolatey feel in there, it's not gourmand, but it's a bitter chocolate note I get. It is a little bit different to most old school fougères. I was also reminded a little bit, because this one does have that slightly dank feel, and dank doesn't mean bad, but sort of an almost damp woodiness about it. That did remind me a bit of one of my real favourites, Creed's Bois de Portugal, which is also heavy on the lavender and very woody and a little bit dusty and maybe just a tiny bit stuffy smelling. Stuffy in a good way. Formal, maybe. Formal smelling, not sort of casual. This one, I've really, really enjoyed this. It's modern with a little bit of a retro twist. It's looking back to the past, but it's not so retro smelling that it smells really out of place in the modern world. It does, however, smell right up Mr. Smelly's street. It is one of those old-fashioned fragrances. The colour of the juice is about right, a really kind of off green that suggests we're going to get that real foresty experience. Very classy scent, develops really interestingly. It's quite complex. You go back to it at different times and different things seem to come to the fore, but the overall impression is rich, woody, masculine, and very green and forest-like. I really enjoy this fragrance, and it's well worth checking out. It's probably one of my favourites from the line so far that I've smelled. The other big one, probably Bergamot, the really fresh one that they do with a great Bergamot opening, and that's more of a great all-rounder, more of a crowd pleaser, that one, more for younger people. This one, going to appeal more to people into retro scents or the older crowd, 30 and upwards. Great for formal occasions. It's going to be good in cold weather actually, or yeah, probably spring, winter and fall, but not in the summer. I think it's a bit heavy for that. Okay if you go light on the trigger in the daytime, but also good for nights out. Work, I think you can wear this. Dates, yes, you can wear it, but it's really, you've got to be confident in wearing this kind of scent. So if you want a crowd-pleasing scent, even if you're older, and it would suit an older gentleman, but if you're looking to, you know, go on a date with somebody you don't know yet, this is more for the real fragrance connoisseur, so probably not going to get universally positive reactions from ladies. Some of them are not going to get this. It is a real niche fragrance. It's not just going out to be a crowd pleaser. It's a work of art and something for people who've got a bit of experience smelling fragrances and maybe a little bit of a love for fragrances from the past, things like Polo Green, or other people I think have mentioned the Tom Ford Private Blends, Vert de Bois and Vert d'Encens, the very green smelling ones. Maybe even Italian Cypress by Tom Ford, I think would be a good comparison. So very, very enjoyable. I've had it about a month, so I don't feel that I've given it a really, really long test, but I think it's long enough to give it a review, and I would give it a very solid 8.5 out of 10. I actually really enjoy it. It's right up my street. I would say qualifying factors are definitely try before you buy. Watch out. It's not going to be to everybody's taste, but it is to my taste. Very daring for a new niche house that's looking to please people. They've not just gone out after the gourmands or the really, really fresh, bright citrus ones. He wanted to have a go at the classic genre of the fougere. It could well stand the test of time and become one of the long-standing classics. I hope they keep this one available to us. Let me know if you've tried any other Gallagher fragrances, or if you've tried Evergreen Dream, and what you think about fougere fragrances overall. Perhaps the fougere is going to make a comeback. Perhaps people are getting a little bit fed up of all the sweet stuff that designers bring out, and perhaps some of these old school masculine scents are going to make a comeback, and of course pioneering that might be some of these smaller indie niche houses like Gallagher fragrances. Let me know your thoughts in my nether regions in the comments below. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Remember, whatever we're doing in life, let's project. Bye bye.